everybody. We're going to get started here with stretch and reset. I have 3 different props today. Foam roller, as always. A small ball. I have a lacrosse ball. It's pretty dense, but some sort of small massage or trigger point ball. And then I'm going to be using a block as well. A lot of times I cue the block as an option, but it's going to be kind of necessary for one of the lacrosse ball exercises today. So if you don't have a yoga block, grab a stack of books or something that's just a couple inches high and kind of firm, so a pillow isn't really going to work. You want something with some structure to it. We're going to set all of that stuff off at the top of the mat. So foam roller, yoga block, and ball all off the mat. And we're going to get started lying on our backs. We've got the bottoms of our feet touching and our knees are in a diamond shape. And it might not be that easy at first. The legs might feel like they're kind of stuck and they can't get any closer to the floor, and that's totally okay. You're just going to set this position up and start taking a couple really big breaths. A full breath in through your nose, just filling up the ribs and the belly. And a full breath out. Now keep going like that. The deepest breath in that you can take every time. And as you exhale, try to feel your body sink into the floor a little more. You'll start to notice a little less tension in your legs. Maybe the knees start to open a little wider on each breath out. And then on purpose, try to soften the muscles in your lower back and your middle back. Let the shoulders melt into the floor. Let the muscles in the front of your neck take a break. Take 2 more big breaths here on your back. And then hug your knees in toward your chest. Wrap your arms around your legs and use your arms to stir little circles with your lower body. So the legs aren't doing any of the work. You're trying to stay as lazy and relaxed as possible. And your arms are pulling the knees in toward your chest and then finishing that circle as they move away from the chest. And then reverse that circle. Just moving the legs in the opposite direction. Feeling a little massage across the low back, and maybe some of that initial resistance in the hips is starting to lighten up. And bring the legs to a stop. Give them one big squeeze. Drop both legs over to the right. Take a gentle supine twist. You'll take your gaze over to the left and try to press your left shoulder into the floor. And then bring your knees back into your chest and drop the knees to the left and take your gaze to the right. Again, just a gentle twist. We have plenty of them coming up, so you don't need to force this first one. Just trying to soften through the muscles in the middle of the back and around the ribs, through the upper back. Pull your knees back into your chest. Drop them over to the right one more time. And this time you're going to take the whole body with you. So you're going to roll onto your right shoulder, stack your hands out in front of you so everything is pointing over to the right side of your mat. Just that left hand is going to start to drag across the right arm. And you're going to come back into that supine twist that we were just in a moment ago. Hopefully feeling a big stretch through the chest on your left side. And then close the left hand off. Glide your hand back down the right arm. We'll do that a few more times, pulling the left hand along your arm. Keep your knees pointing to the right as you reach the left fingertips over to the left. And then pull your left hand back in, slide it back out across your arm. One more time like this, just drawing a straight line across the length of your arm and your chest. And then this next time, you're going to leave your left arm reaching out along the right side. And instead of coming back across your arm, you're going to take those left fingertips up and around your head, trying to draw a semicircle around the back of the mat. You might need to move some of your props out of the way. And you'll take that semicircle as far as you're able to. It's okay if that hand isn't touching the ground at all. And then once you can't go any further, start to trace the circle in the opposite direction. So now we're going back up around the back of the mat and ending with the hands together. We'll do that 2 more times. For as long as you're able to, keep the fingertips on the ground. And when they lift up, just try not to flex your arm. So it's okay if they lift up. We just want to keep the arm as soft as possible. And then take the left fingertips back up and around. And you'll do 1 more. Just big, wide semicircle, stretching out as far as you can through that left arm. And then lift the left arm back up. And end with your hands back together. You're going to take both knees and lift them up and over to the left side. Both knees drop to the left. All 10 fingertips point over to the left side of your mat. Same thing, starting with the right arm, just dragging a straight line across your arm and your chest, ending up in that supine twist that we've already felt, but hopefully a little bigger this time. Really press the right shoulder toward the mat. And then take the right fingertips in toward your chest, reach them back out across your left arm. And pull the right fingertips back across your arm, open up your chest. And then take the right hand and drag it across the left arm. 1 more time like this, just that straight line across the center of the chest. And then all the way back over. This time you'll pause here with your fingertips touching, and then the right fingertips are going to trace that semicircle around the back edge of the neck, so around the top of your head, making that circle as big as you can. Really stretch the fingertips out. And then once you get to the bottom of that stretch, those right fingertips start to trace that same circle back to where it came from. Then 2 more times, reach the right fingertips all the way up and back, trying to melt the right shoulder back down into the ground. And then lift the right fingertips up and over. 1 more time with the right hand, reaching all the way up and around, roll the right shoulder down. And then reach the right fingertips back on top of the left. Use that right hand to press yourself up off the floor into a tabletop position. And you're going to take a few rounds of cat and cow. Dropping your belly to the floor, take a gaze up toward the ceiling as you inhale. Tuck your chin into your chest, round your upper back as you exhale. Belly to the floor, gaze lifts to the ceiling on your breath in. Chin tucks into your chest, round your upper back on your breath out. 1 more each way, 1 more long breath in. And then round your back for 1 more big breath out. Find a neutral tabletop position. Take your right fingertips, sweep them up toward the ceiling. And we're going to pause here for a moment or two with the right fingertips reaching up. Notice if your hips are pushing over to the right side of your mat. And if they are, give them a little tug back over to the left. So we're keeping the hips and the knees still on this and trying to open up through the top part of the body. Stay and take a really big inhale. Thread the right arm underneath your left arm as you exhale. Take the side of your head, the right side of your head, all the way down to the mat. And then push into your left hand to make that stretch even deeper. Now this time, if your hips are pushing over to the left, give them a little tug back to the right. Try to keep the lower body as still as possible. Take 1 more big inhale. 1 more exhale. Push into your left hand, sweep your right arm all the way back up. And then take the right hand back down to the mat into tabletop. So again, keeping the lower body facing the same direction, keeping it square. You're gonna lift the left arm up without pushing your hips to the left. And it's gonna feel kind of tight or stuck right in the center of the ribs, and that's exactly what we're working on. We'll try to fill that space up with your inhale, and then twist a little deeper on the exhale. Just one more time, reach up, take a breath in. Thread your left arm underneath the right side on your breath out. Now your hips are gonna have a tendency to push over to the right, and I want you to push into your right hand and pull the hips back over to the left. Press into your right hand, sweep your left fingertips back up one more time, and then take your left hand back down to tabletop. We're gonna grab our foam roller and place it underneath this tabletop shape, trapping the foam roller underneath your quads and bringing it down to your forearms. And then using your forearms, you're gonna pull your shoulders out toward your fingertips and then push your shoulders away from your hands. So we're just using the arms to steer forward and backwards, and trying to keep the legs as relaxed as possible. And you're gonna start to turn your toes in different directions. So you'll take a couple rolls with your toes facing each other, and then a couple rolls with your toes facing away from each other, and then a few with both toes facing the left, and then a few with them both to the right, and you'll just keep alternating all of those different variations until you find the spots on your quads that really need the attention. When you find those, try not to rush away from them. I want you to take a couple rolls, a couple deep breaths over those spots. It's okay if you bend a knee or if you lean some extra weight onto one side. Just want to make sure that you get down toward the knee and then up by the hip, stopping before we hit either of those bones. So not rolling over the kneecaps and not rolling over the hip bones, but getting the whole muscle in between those 2 points. Stay for about another 30 seconds here, still just playing around with all of those different variations, all those different ways that you can turn your toes. Adjusting the roller whenever you need to so that it's in the right spot. And then you're going to bring your body to a stop and bend your knees. And you're going to windshield wiper your feet from side to side, or your shins. Now I like to do this a little closer toward my hips. That's where I get the biggest response. But I encourage you to move forward and backwards a few times until you know where you're going to get the most out of this. So if you've never done this before, if you don't know where to start, just take a couple over the whole course of the leg and see which one feels like it needs it the most. And then you'll stop there and take a couple deep breaths. And then you're going to bring your knees back down to the ground. We're going to keep facing this direction, and the roller is staying exactly where it is. You're going to come back up to tabletop. I'm going to start with my left leg. That left leg is going to step on the outside of the foam roller. So my foot is kind of close to the circle part here. Your right quad is going to trap the foam roller, and you're going to lean a little to the outer edge. So I'm not directly on my IT band. I'm not right on the side, but I'm on the outer edge of that right quad. And then I need to push a lot of extra weight into my forearms on this one, but you're going to play around with it and see what gives you the most pressure where you can still breathe. So you're scooting forward and backwards, but if you notice that you've started to hold your breath or clench your jaw, then you need to find somewhere else to put your weight to take a little bit off of that right quad. We want a big response in the muscle, but we don't want the rest of the body to have to react. And you might start to feel a little stretch in the outside of this left hip too, depending on how tight you are. Just enjoy that. Don't let it take your attention away from the right quad. Just about 10 more seconds on this right side. Getting close to the hip, and then a little closer toward the knee. And then you're gonna bring your right knee down to the ground and step your left foot in front of the roller. So left foot in front, right knee is in back. Lunging forward into your left knee. Making sure that your ankle's underneath your knee and not too close to the roller. You're just gonna place your hands on top of your quad, lift your chest up and tuck your tailbone under a little. So we're looking for a stretch through the front of that right hip flexor. Through the front of the side that you were just rolling. And you can bring your hands to the roller or to your block if you need a little lift. Just trying to soften, finding a really long, even breath. All the way in through the nose, all the way back out through the nose. On each exhale, try to imagine your hips getting heavier. Gravity is pulling them a little closer to the floor. Stay for one more breath in and breath out. And then slowly pull yourself back away from that left foot. Just for a moment. Stretching out the left leg, reaching your chest forward, giving the left hamstring just a little stretch. We haven't done anything with it yet, so nothing too intense. And then we're going to shift forward one more time into the left foot. Plant your right hand, and you're going to take your left arm up to the ceiling, and then back down to the ground about 10 times. Now you can do this with a lifted back leg if you want. I get a better stretch when I keep my knee down, so just try both out, and then pick the one that feels the best for you. And as you lift that top arm, just like we did when we were in tabletop, you're trying not to let the hips respond. So we want both hip points facing square off to the mat. Only that left arm, only the torso gets to rotate. Sounds simple until you start to pay attention to what your hips are doing. Let's go for about 2 more. It's okay if you've done a couple extra or if you've done a few less than. One more time. Awesome. And then you're going to plant your left hand, take the left leg all the way back around, and just sit both hips back towards your heels for child's pose. I like to take my hands onto my roller when I have it with me. Just kind of prop the shoulders up, get a little stretch on the outside of the shoulder blades. And take a moment in this child's pose to notice a difference between the right and the left hip. We've only done the right side, or more tension on the right side so far. For me, I noticed that my right hip is folding a little nicer, like that side feels closer to the ground, and the left side feels kind of high. It's just nice to check in and let your brain register what you're doing to the muscles. Catch up and know that it's okay to relax and know that something is being done, even if it feels a little easy sometimes. Slowly lift yourself back up to tabletop. You're going to take your right foot on the outside of the roller, so your right foot is lined up with the circle part. You'll bring your left quad onto the roller, and then bring it down to your forearms if that feels comfortable. Otherwise, you can stay on your hands. And then just like we did on the first side, you're gonna roll the very outer edge of that left quad. I say it every time, I don't roll my IT bands. If you are rolling yours, just make sure that it's something you've tried before. If you're not sure, if it's just something that you've seen, online somewhere, then try rolling the front of your quad and see if that can do the same thing for you. Focusing more on the belly of the muscle rather than on the attachments. Running that whole length up and down the leg, getting close to the kneecap, close to the hip, stopping just before you roll over any bones. About 20 more seconds, just trying out a bunch of different spots. And then we'll bring our left knee down to the ground behind the roller. And you'll step your right foot in front. Step it far enough in front of you that when you bend that right knee, your knee is over your ankle and it's not going too far forward. So we've got a really grounded, supported right foot here. Hands on the roller or the floor, you're just gonna gradually lean your hips closer to the ground with each exhale. You can take your hands to your thigh or one of each. Notice if the hips are starting to turn to the left corner, and if they are, pull that left hip back to the top of the mat. Thinking of pulling the outside of the right hip back an inch, and then just letting the hips get heavy, square to the top edge of the mat. Can you emphasize the stretch on your inhale? Can you really try to create a deeper feeling in that stretch on the breath in? And then soften that feeling on the breath out. Taking a couple deep breaths here, finishing up this left lunge. And then slowly, just for a moment, sliding the hips backwards, lengthening the right leg, and just reaching your chest out instead of down. We'll get plenty of hamstring stretches in. I don't want this to be the most intense one. Awesome. Rebend the right knee, plant your left hand, and then we'll take that right arm up to the ceiling, and then back down to the ground about 10 times. Now every time you come down, re-square the hips. Try to keep the hips facing the same spot as you rotate through the upper back and through the middle of the back. Hopefully going a little further, or just fine-tuning that a little more each time. So maybe on the first one, your hips were going all sorts of different directions and they were really leaning or lifting, and then hopefully that gets a little better every time. A little more mindful. Take 2 more. Plant your hands, take the right knee back behind the roller, and you're going to sit down, and let's take the roller off to the side for a moment. So you're going to start by stretching your legs all the way out in front of you. Now we've done one small hamstring stretch, just that little kneeling half split. We're going to do our first big one. So arms are going to reach up. This one's just a test, but as far as you're able to reach, fingertips lift up on your breath in, Take it all the way up and over on your breath out. We're not going to stay here forever, but I want you to take a look around at where your hands are and how it feels in the back of your legs or in your low back. Use this as your gauge. Noticing how close you can get to your legs. Noticing how big of a breath you're able to take when you're here. And then slowly lift yourself back up. You're going to grab your yoga block or your books or whatever you have that's slightly lifted, and you're going to put your small ball, your lacrosse ball or your trigger point ball on top of the block. And we're going to start off at the bottom of our legs. So we're starting off with our calves, and you're going to put the ball on top of the block and then just rest your calf on top of the ball. A couple different ways that you can do this. If it's already just resting your leg on there is already giving you a really big reaction, I want you to just stay and take a couple deep breaths. If it feels like something, it kind of feels good, but you could take a little bit more, I like to keep my butt grounded and just kind of shimmy the hips from right to left. So you're just going to push that right leg a little longer and then pull it back in. You are obviously more than welcome to lift yourself up and really roll around on there. I just don't think it's necessary. And we're going to be lifting ourselves up quite a bit in some of the later ones, so I'm using this time to give your shoulders a break. But if that's the only way that you're going to get a stretch, then go ahead and add that in. Now take your hand and move the ball all around. You're going to keep either drawing circles or lines with the ball in different spots. You can do a little bit of internal rotation, rotating your toes toward the other leg, toward the left, if you're on your right side. Draw a couple of long lines on the inner side of the calf muscle. And then you can move it around and do that with your leg externally rotated, drawing a couple of lines on the outer edge. You can draw a few circles with your ankle if it would feel good for you, or you can kind of stretch your toes apart using your hands or whatever you've got close by. We've done it with a strap before. If you take my class a lot, we've done that one where you use the strap to pull, or a sock. Awesome. So we're going to do that same thing on the other side. So the right leg just goes off. The ball setup stays the same, and your left calf muscle is going to rest on top of the ball. And then you're going to scoot your hips forward and backwards, or really just your left hip's going to push forward and backwards. And you'll try some circles and some rocks, just moving in all sorts of directions. Really giving attention to anything that feels very strong. So if you've got a bump, if you've got a spot that needs some extra nudging, don't try to avoid it. Roll around it. You don't have to stay right on it, but don't move on to another part that feels better. Give that all the attention that it needs by creating like a little circle or surrounding of it. Draw circles with your foot, or you can stretch your toes out a little, maybe just rock the leg from side to side. Now, you're going to take the ball and the block, set them to the side for just a second, so close enough away that you can grab them. And we're going to do that forward fold stretch one more time. So reach your arms up overhead, take a big breath in. On your exhale, fold over. And then take another look around, just comparing this fold to the first one. Can your fingertips reach any closer? Do you feel a bigger stretch? That first one, my stretch felt kind of dull. And on this one, I'm noticing a lot more of a response, a lot more of a stretch in the back of my legs. Maybe you feel closer to your thighs or your breath is bigger, and maybe not, but a lot of times by stretching or loosening up one part of the back of the body, we can start to feel that fold get nicer and nicer. So we're gonna keep coming back to this a couple times as we work up the back side of the body. You can lift yourself all the way back up, and we're gonna grab the foam roller to start. You're just gonna slide it underneath the backs of your knees. And I'm gonna keep both of my legs on it today, or both of them on at the same time. Press into your hands, lift your hips up, and then scoot forward and backwards. And just like we did for our quads, you're gonna move your toes in all sorts of directions. So you're gonna turn your toes in toward one another, and you're gonna turn your toes away from one another. And then you'll do some with your toes facing the right, and some with your toes facing the left. And then just keep mix and matching those until you find the best variation for you today. That might be different than the last time that you did this. You could cross the ankles, you could cross the knees and do one leg at a time, even if it's only for a couple of the rolls. Just be mindful of what your upper body is doing. So there's a lot of pressure in the hands and the forearms and the shoulders, and we want to try to keep the shoulders as soft as we're able to, even though they're doing a little bit of work. Just a few more breaths here. And then bring your hips to the ground and move the foam roller off to the side. And just like we did last time, you're gonna reach your arms all the way up. Take a big inhale, fold forward, and just notice if it feels any different. Doesn't have to. And then lift yourself back up. And we're gonna start with the foam roller on this one, and then I'm gonna cue the lacrosse ball or the massage ball as an alternative. The foam roller is a little gentler than the lacrosse ball. I'm sure you know that, but just in case. You're gonna sit on top of the roller, bring your hands behind your hips, and then take an ankle to a knee. So I'm gonna start left ankle, right knee, and then lean to the left. Whatever way that knee is facing, that's the way that I want you to lean. And start to roll all around the outside of that left hip. The ankle crossed works for me, but I know a lot of people that prefer to have their foot down on the ground. So go ahead and try both of those variations, and then stick with the one that feels the best. And I will probably say that 50 times before class is over, because that really is all that it's about. You just need to try it all out, see what gives you the best massage, the best tension release. And what you do is going to be a little different than what I do or what someone else does if you're moving with someone doing this at the same time. Awesome. So if that's going well for you, keep doing it. If you're ready for something a little more intense, you're going to grab your lacrosse ball instead, underneath that same glute, same hip, and then roll around on the lacrosse ball instead of on the foam roller. If you're on the lacrosse ball, I want you to make big passes, slower movement, right? That you're going to not rush around or race around, but I want you to make a large circle. Cover as much surface area as you can. And then slowly work your way down. Once you know where to work toward, once you find the spot that needs it the most. And if you have a spot, if you have a point that's really catching your attention or really calling to you, just let your hips sink down, let them get heavy. And take a couple really big breaths. And then whether you're on the lacrosse ball or on the foam roller, we're going to go to the second side. So since I started on the foam roller, I'm going to start on the foam roller again, and then work my way to the lacrosse ball, And you don't have to if your body doesn't feel like it needs it. Just giving that same attention over to the right hip. Switching to the lacrosse ball or staying on the roller. When you get to the lacrosse ball, just slowing it down a little bit. Again, if you find a spot that really needs some more attention, instead of rolling around it, try just resting on it and taking some very intentional inhales and exhales. Biggest breath in that you can take, and the softest breath out. Slowly bring your hips all the way down to the ground. Stretch your legs out, and this will be the last time I make you do it. Just reach your arms up for me one more time. Take a big breath in, and then fold over your legs last time. Just taking a moment to check in and see if it feels different. Or just enjoying another variation of your hamstring stretch. Slowly lift your chest and chin back up. And we're gonna do a stretch that's like the same setup we just did on the foam roller. You're gonna bend your right knee and plant your foot, and then take your left ankle to your right knee. This time off of the foam roller. And then you're gonna focus on your lower back here. A lot of times when I cue this stretch, people get a rounding feeling or a rounding look in their lower back when the tailbone tucks under. I want you to push into your hands, lift your chest, and try to lift and stretch the lower back. It's not gonna feel like a stretch. I just want you to think about it getting longer, more space between those back bones. That should make the stretch on the outside of the left hip feel like the main event, like the main thing going on right now. Try pushing into your right foot and into your hands, and lift your chest up another inch. Two more breaths like this. And if this next stretch is too intense, you're gonna stay in this for a few more breaths or a few more moments. If you're ready to move on, we're gonna take that right foot and heel toe it over toward the left until your legs cross into this like Lincoln log situation. So you've got your feet on the outside of your knees and you're trying to line your knees up. This is a very bendy version of this. It might look a little something like this, and that's totally fine. You can get a great stretch like this. If this is difficult or frustrating, if you want to be able to relax that leg down onto something, take your yoga block and just place it in between your knee and your foot. And then that'll give you a little something to rest down onto. Well, you're gonna do the same thing that we did in that figure 4 stretch. So instead of letting the lower back round, I want you to lift and stretch your spine. And then think of pushing your nose forward. The sit bones are gonna push back as the nose pushes forward, and we keep that length in the spine the whole time. The further forward you lean, the deeper the stretch in your hips will be. And so you're just gonna tiptoe into that, ease into that stretch, and stop when you feel like you need to focus more on the breath. Make sure you can always take a full inhale. As you exhale, try to loosen up the muscles in your legs. Just let them melt down into the mat. Shoulders away from the ears. Soften up the space between your eyebrows. from before, feel free to stay there. You could also stretch out the bottom leg and be in some variation of this as well. So if this is a little too much, you could always straighten that right leg out. You'll take one more breath in and out like this. And then lift your chest and chin all the way back up. You're gonna turn toward your left. Take your right hand towards your left knee, left hand behind your hips, and just a gentle twist to the left side. You can feel this in a bunch of different spots. It could be more through your waist, more through your upper back. I feel the most down in the right hip flexor. I'm kind of doing that on purpose. I'm pushing my left ankle into my right thigh as I rotate, trying to get a good hip flexor stretch. So just move around a little bit until you can target the area that you're wanting to stretch the most. And then come back to center, and everyone's gonna stretch out their right leg and then cross the left foot over top. We're gonna take one more twist over to the left. Bring your right arm up and over. Right elbow hooks your left knee. So there's a full cross here. And then we take a deeper rotation. Probably feeling this one more through your back and your ribs, and that's where I feel it. You might feel it through the abs a little bit. Really deep breath, puffing up the ribs on the breath in so it makes that stretch feel more intense. And then softening on the exhale. And then slowly bring yourself back to center. Shake your legs out for a second, and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So now you're gonna plant your left foot with a bent left knee. Take your right ankle, cross it over top. Remember, the tendency will be to round the lower back, and you're gonna try to lift it up away from the floor. Think of pressing onto your sit bones instead of rocking back onto your tailbone. Just a couple deep breaths here. If you have sensitive knees, you're gonna wanna flex that foot on top. And you might get a different stretch if you sway the right foot from side to side. A little push to the left and back might help soften up any of those sticky spots. Good. Just like 2 more breaths, and then remember, you can stay just like this. You can also stretch the left leg out. Where we're gonna take that left foot, heel toe it over to the right foot, coming into double pigeon on the other side. So the right ankle is stacked on the left knee. And then think of sitting really tall. We'll reach your nose forward as you push your sit bones backwards. One long line here through the back. One more breath in, lift the heart a little higher. One more breath out. Lift your shoulders back over top of your hips. Left hand to your right knee, right hand behind your back, taking a little twist over to the right. Stretch the left leg out, right foot's on top. Your left elbow hooks your right knee, and that's what helps you create that deeper twist, or that tighter twist over to the right side. A little bit of a fight between the elbow and the knee. Think of pressing them into one another and then lifting your chest up and away from the elbow. And then slowly bring yourself back to center. We'll take one final stretch like this, one butterfly stretch. We started in this position in the very beginning on our backs. You're gonna take the bottoms of your feet together, your knees make a diamond. We're ditching the roundness of the back, sit up really tall, and then reach your nose forward. You can plant your hands on the mat and use them to help walk your chest out a little further. Or you can stay upright and just keep a tall torso and let the legs open side to side. Take one more big breath in and out. Don't rush out of this. Use the whole exhale to soften down. And then lift your chest and chin back up. And we're gonna scoot forward so that we can roll all the way onto our backs. Now, you're gonna take your lacrosse ball or your massage ball and place it on the lower spot on your back, under your ribs and above your hip, but just on the left side. So it's going to go on the left side of your spine, and you're just going to roll your body weight back down onto it. Make sure that you're not pressing onto your bones. It's pretty far over toward the left side. A lot of times you can just stay like this and take some deep breaths. You'll feel that ball gradually press into the muscle. It'll start to soften it. If you need a little more, if you do this one a lot, you could tuck your hips under just a touch, just enough to feel the body press down onto the ball, and then you would take your deep breaths there instead. Move the ball either up an inch or down an inch, just to another spot, another muscly spot on the left side of your lower back. This is where I like to add in a little rock of the knees or a little windshield wipe of the knees. Not trying to get anything to jam down or push down, but just shifting up the pressure that I feel, so that there's a moment of relief somewhere. It gets like a little intense, and then we come back to something that feels manageable. So my rocks side to side aren't even that big. I'm not even tipping this left hip or this right hip off the ground. I feel like it needs to be big to get something out of it. And then you're going to take the ball and you're going to do the same thing on the right side. And for just a moment in between, let the back come flat, no ball. And just notice if you can feel a difference between the right and the left side. And then you'll go same thing on the right side, finding the muscly part in between the ribs and the hip, just to the right of the spine. Start by just letting the weight press down onto the ball. And then maybe you start to tuck the hips under and push a little bit of that weight down. If you're tucking and untucking the hips though, make sure that you're not flexing everything that we just softened in the lower body. So it's really small. It comes from more of the core, more of the abs than from your legs. And it's just enough to notice the extra pressure. You'll take the same ball, same side, just move it up an inch or down an inch to another spot. That'll get a little bit of give from it, a little bit of relaxation. And then you can keep tucking the hips, or you can start to windshield wiper the feet from the knees from right to left. gonna take the ball out from the right side. We're gonna go back to the left, and you're gonna place it right at the top of the shoulder blade, where the base of the neck starts to create that little swoop over toward the shoulder. And then you're just gonna rest the weight down on the ball. And you wanna make sure that you're not on the spine or right on the edge of the bone, but we're in a spot that has a little meat to it. So on the inside edge of the shoulder blade is usually what I think in my head, trying to fit in between the shoulder blade and the backbone. And then you can pull your sternum up, kind of arch your back a little to put some weight on it, trying to keep everything else soft. Or you could draw big circles with your left arm, just varying up the pressure that you feel. And really appreciating the parts when there's not a lot of pressure, letting that be where the muscle gets to relax, where it gets to stop tensing up or trying to protect you. Just a few more moments on the left side, trying all sorts of movements out, just seeing which ones feel like the best massage. And then you'll take the ball up and over to the right side. And then let that right side get heavy on the ball. And then either start to circle the right arm or lift the chest up a little. Just because it felt, that the circles felt the best on the left side doesn't mean that's necessarily the case for the right, so don't get stuck thinking that it has to look exactly the same. You want a similar response, but you might need to take a different route to get there. These last few movements, making sure that they're linked to breath. A full inhale, full exhale, never losing sight of that. Take that lacrosse ball, place it off to the side. We're finished with that. You're going to reach back for your roller and place it underneath your shoulder blades for our final bit of rolling over the roller. Hands behind your head. Let your head be heavy in your hands. The muscles in the neck don't do any work. Lift your hips up and then just take a little scoot forward and backwards. Staying across the top of the shoulder blades, the upper back. You can lean a little weight to the left or to the right. Slow it down. We'll try to add a little extra pressure. And then eventually I want you to stop with the roller under your shoulder blades, right at the bottom. Put your butt on the ground and then just let your head fall back over the roller. And with your hands stuck together, imagine you could pull your elbows apart. Just feel that stretch through your chest. And then lift your chin into your chest. Take the roller underneath your knees, and you're going to lay on your back. We'll lift our hips up, slide that roller right underneath your tailbone, then pull your right knee into your chest, stretch your left leg out in front of you. You're going to really hold on tight to that right shin, give it a good tug, and then try to stretch the left leg a little longer, gluing the left heel to the ground if you can. Pull on that right knee. We're looking for a stretch in the front of the left hip flexor. Place your right foot down on the ground, hug your left knee up instead, and then stretch your right leg out. Try to get your right heel to the ground, and then reaching it out long away from the top of your head. Bringing your left foot down to the ground. Right foot next to it, lift your hips up enough to slide the roller out from underneath you. And then just let the backs of your knees catch it. And take one final breath here. One more big breath in, filling up every last bit of space. Open your mouth, empty it out. Just take a moment here, Shavasana, if you want to call it that, or just one final rest to let the body settle. Take 3 more big breaths on your back. And slowly start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. If you have nowhere to be after this, take a few more moments here, just letting the body melt down onto the floor. Otherwise, you'll bend your knees, somehow using your hands, gently bring yourself up to a seated position. And we'll just end with 3 big breaths, 2 stretches along the way. Take a big inhale. Bring your right hand to the ground, left arm up and over on your exhale. All together, reach to the center as you breathe in. Left hand down, right arm up and over on your breath out. And then final time, reach to the center. Take your last big inhale. And lower your arms, big smile as you exhale. You guys are all finished. Thank you so much for joining me for Stretch and Reset. I hope you feel like $1,000,000 right now, and I'll see you guys next time.